Hi, this is Dr. Franklin Allaire from the University of Houston downtown. In this video, we're going to get into the life sciences, Domain C, by exploring Module 6, which covers science teaching competencies 11 and 12. Before we get started, spoiler alert, please make sure you filled out the first two columns of your KWL 2.0 chart and have answered the discussion prompts. If you haven't, please pause this video and take 7 to 10 minutes to write down and share what you know and what you want to learn about competencies 11 and 12. Science teaching competencies 11 and 12 are the first two competencies in Domain C, life science. Competency 11 says, the teacher understands the structure and function of living things, and competency 12 says, the teacher understands reproduction and the mechanisms of heredity. As we've seen in our other modules, there's a lot wrapped up in both of these competencies. For this reason, these competencies, like the others, have been broken down into multiple sub-competencies. The sub-competencies for science teaching competency 11 read, the beginning teacher understands that living systems have different structures that perform different functions, understands and describes stages in the life cycles of common plants and animals, including animals that experience complete and incomplete metamorphosis, understands that organisms have basic needs, analyzes how structure complements function in cells, tissues, organs, organ systems, and organisms, identifies human body systems and describes their functions, and understands the relationship between characteristics, structures, and functions and corresponding taxonomic classifications. Science teaching competency 12 reads, the beginning teacher describes the processes by which plants and animals reproduce and explains how hereditary information is passed from one generation to the next, compares and contrasts inherited traits and learned characteristics, understands the organization of hereditary material and how an inherited trait can be determined by one or many genes and how more than one trait can be influenced by a single gene, distinguishes between dominant and recessive traits and predicts the probable outcomes of genetic combinations, and finally, evaluates the influence of environmental and genetic factors on the traits of an organism. Now that we've learned about the competencies and sub-competencies covered in this module, it's time to dive a little bit deeper into some of the topics. In the Explore section, you'll be watching some videos that cover various topics contained within the competencies. Module 6, which covers science teaching competencies 11 and 12, has 11 videos covering 2 areas of exploration. In this module, you'll be able to explore the structure and function of living things and reproduction and mechanisms of heredity. Videos in this section cover topics including how cells, tissues, organs, and organ systems work together to keep organisms alive, the life cycles of organisms and how they reproduce, how living things are classified, how traits are passed from parents to offsprings, and we'll answer the age-old question, what's DNA anyway? As you make your way through the exploration section of this module, we'd like you to keep in mind the following guiding questions. For science teaching competency 11, we'd like you to think about how might elementary teachers explore the structure and function of living things through inquiry-based approaches? In what ways can elementary teachers differentiate content to ensure understanding and support the learning needs of a diverse student body? And which organisms would be appropriate for teachers to integrate into age-appropriate, hands-on activities for students to gain a clear understanding of developmental life cycles? For science teaching competency number 12, we'd like you to think about how elementary teachers can weave culturally responsive approaches into their instruction to ensure that students from diverse backgrounds develop a nuanced understanding of reproduction and the mechanisms of heredity. In what ways can elementary teachers leverage real-life examples and interactive activities to make the complex concepts of reproduction and heredity accessible and engaging for their students? And how might elementary teachers encourage curiosity and critical thinking in students by integrating inquiry-based learning experiences that explore the intricacies of reproduction and the mechanisms of heredity within the context of the students' own lives. To help you fully engage in the videos, I strongly recommend downloading the guided note-taking documents. I also recommend having a notebook handy, so that way you can take notes about anything that's covered in any of the videos and to write down some questions that you may still have after watching the videos.